how did you pick Tennessee?
So, so many reasons. I mean, it's a beautiful state. It's very business friendly. And so for development, there's not a lot of red tape. That was really, really important and strategic in our next move. But also Seth fell in love with the specific area that we're in like years and years ago. In the early days when he was with the band and they would travel from South Carolina to the big city of Nashville, they didn't have a tour bus, so they would drive themselves in a van and they would cross Nickajack Lake. And Seth would always look out the window and be like, this place is so stunning.
He's such a dreamer.
He is. He's such a dreamer. And the rock faces, the water, the mountains. He's like, I wonder if I'll ever live here. And so flash forward, all the arrows are kind of pointing to Tennessee. My parents are there. They're north of Nashville.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they're not far. And after what we had walked through, we walked through a valley, right? And we were also like living in a valley. This like kind of like, I don't want to call it swamp area. It's swamp in my mind. No, it was a valley, but we were like, you know what? After this, we want to be on the mountain. Mm-hmm. Like you feel on top of the world when you are on top of the world. And that's what our spirit needs. So we're on a mission to find a mountain in Tennessee. Nashville was way too expensive.
Of course, and property taxes.
And way too much red tape, So we just kept looking. And Seth, he's such a fascinating guy because he's a dreamer, but he's also like very like detailed and analytical and a researcher. And so he is looking on Google Earth to find like the nature drama. Location. Yeah, he's like, what am I going to find that's interesting? So he's like looking on Google Earth and he sees where we are. It's this Rift Valley. You can actually see it from space. It's so unique because it's like a plateau, then there's a 6-mile wide valley and then another mountain. And it's just stunning. And why that drew our interest was it's unique, but also you don't have to spend the money to build a road up a mountain. That is an expensive thing. It takes a lot of time. And so with this, there's already the development up there. There's a plateau. So like small detail, but also like saved us a ton of money by having that. And so we honed in on that area, literally drew a circle on Redfin and found it. Like nobody had built on that. Isn't that crazy?
That's
like
amazing.
It was just raw land, like waiting for us. It was a God thing.
So you find the land, which everyone thinks is kind of like, oh my gosh, I found the land. And then like things start and that's not it at all.
No. Like I feel like every time we would hit a breakthrough, then it's like, okay, next challenge. And you gotta, that 10-mile march, you just gotta keep showing up because nothing comes easy.
So I think what's unique about your story is with I meet so many investors, I'm sure you do too, whether it's at speaking events or people you're talking to on social media. And a lot of them really come at this from what are the numbers? Like, how do I make the numbers work? It's all data. Mm-hmm. Y'all had the kind of, and I guess that's the background that you both have, the like creative artsy side with it. And a lot of the creatives fail at the business side and the business people fail at the creative side for creating this unique experience. And you two have managed to marry those things together to create this truly beautiful experience for people.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It is. It's like the Venn diagram,
yes,
like that little piece in the middle.
Yes.
Because it's true. I mean, we are very creative and that's what makes the experience so magical for our guests. But we are business minded. You have to be. You've probably met these people too. I meet people at like, glamping conferences and all these creatives and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this.
Which sounds amazing.
It does,
but the taking action on it is
like so hard.
Yeah.
And so we definitely, we have our pro formas. We ran our numbers to be like, okay, this is what, we need to build for this to make sense and have a good return. And it's a great business, but it is kind of marrying both. And like, if you're not wired that way, you need people in your camp,
yes.
Whether it's your spouse or mentors or your team, like you hire for your weaknesses. I love, like you build your business around your strengths, but you build your team around your weaknesses. And that's how you can kind of be well-rounded. So we went into it knowing like, okay, this is good business. But yeah, we found 18 acres. It was actually 33 acres, but we couldn't afford it all. So we talked the seller into selling us 18. And thankfully over time we were able to grow. We now have 55 acres. But it was scrappy. It was like he and I living in a tent, staking things out ourselves. Then after that, it was living in a trailer. I mean, we were like in it.
So how are you? So you clearly have different personalities. And I feel like a lot of our listeners, they want to work with their spouses, but that's not always the easiest thing. It's also kind of a controversial topic to actually say out loud because we aren't all the same, right? And it's okay to say that one or the other are first, or like the decision maker, or we're gonna have our lanes. And everybody has a different way of doing this. I am truly curious how you and Seth are splitting this up and making decisions. And you have a baby. and balancing all of this while building a family.
Yeah, it's not easy. It takes a rare couple. You have to be really tight. And something that we're big on is like, you know, we can't run a healthy business if we don't have a healthy relationship.
Yep.
And we can't have a healthy relationship if I'm not a healthy individual. So we've got to, like, it starts with you and then the foundation of your marriage, you know, and then you can pour out. And in the early days, it was a lot of the headbutting, you know, like we just were like, hey, we want to be in this together, but we had no lanes. And so as the creative visionary design guy, because he's so good at that, he would like sign off on everything. And it drove me freaking nuts. I was like, why did you ask me to do all this work just for you to change it? You know, and it was just like, And so it took some, you know, storming and forming and conversations and figuring things out. But I think we landed in a really good place that works for us. And so with Bolt Farm, we kind of have three umbrellas of the business. There's PropCo, the construction and development. There's OpsCo, that runs the hotel.
Yep.
And then there's BrandCo, sales and marketing, because we do 100% direct bookings and all that. And so I lead BrandCo. So I'm like the CEO of BrandCo, you know. He leads PropCo, and then neither one of us wanted ops, so we hired a COO. But we have our lanes, and what's cool is like we'll still bring each other into our worlds for input. But like, you know, he just asked me the other day about like what I'm thinking about input on this sign, but he can take or leave my advice, and I won't take it personally
because you have your own thing.
He owns it. I have my own thing.
So I love that you're talking about this, because when we talk to newbies sometimes, or people looking to grow from their single family rentals to some type of commercial property like we're talking about, they get stuck in, yeah, but I don't like operations, or I suck at marketing, or I don't want to talk to people. And I don't think we talk enough about truly spending some time alone and thinking about the things that you're good at, and that there's things that it's okay that you're not good at. Let's hire a really great person for those. How do you decide when it's going to be something that's under one of your umbrellas versus this is what we're hiring out for?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you could truly have hired out for both of the things you chose to be CEOs of, right? There are other people in the world that do this. So talk me through your decision-making process when you're choosing what's going under your bucket versus hiring for.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, there's always going to be things, I think, that you have to do in your business because it's required of you, even though it's not fun. You don't enjoy doing it. You just have to. That's your responsibility. But for us, it was like, well, what do I enjoy doing? What am I good at doing? And what will move the company furthest? So like, and am I the only person that could do this job? So for us, like we've really transitioned from being in the weeds of everything to like, how can we focus on the business, grow the brand, show up, you know, in content? That's a job. That takes time. And we have not done that, you know, but like we're getting to a point where we're getting to like lean in and invest in that. I'm like, okay, only I can do that. I can't just like hire someone else to be the face of Bolt Farm. It's my name. It's Bolt Farm. It's not Heather Farm. You know, it's like, okay, so I've got to do that. And also just like looking at my superpowers, like what am I really good at? And it's kind of cool. I was able to bring in parts of my news background into what I do now with storytelling and working with the media and stuff like that. And then Seth, he grew up in construction. His dad had a construction business, so he was around it, and he knows, like he has the eye for excellence. He's comfortable. You know, I can get played by a contractor. They're like, oh yeah, we're done. I'm like, oh, they're done. He's like, they are not done. You know, bring them back. You know, and so it's like, yeah, what do we enjoy? What are we really good at? And like kind of those four quadrants of I enjoy it and I'm good at it. I enjoy it, but I'm not that good at it. Okay, don't do that. You know. And then there's like I'm bad at it and I hate this. Okay, delegate that immediately. And you know, I said we have someone now to run ops, but like it doesn't mean that we just took our hands off the steering wheel. I think that's a really dangerous thing. You know, it's your business, and you still have to like hold people accountable, make sure that your fingerprints are on it. But now it's just like at a higher level. You know, we're not in the weeds of all the little things, but we're always going to be involved. We're always going to care. Hiring and recruiting, that's a huge, you know, function of the business too. And like we both want to always have. One of us will have that final interview with a candidate because we're building a really special team and culture, and we don't want to outsource that. Like we want to be the final gatekeeper, you know, to say like, yes, they're a good fit. Let's bring them on the team.